Anyone who makes it to 104 years old likely has a lot of stories to tell. They lived through many historic moments and were maybe even a part of a few of them.
And in our storytellers today, our Anne Herbst introduces us to a man in Fort Collins who has made a big impact through teaching and innovating, though he would never be one to brag.
Working on my puzzle.
Lots of times, legends are unassuming.
It's my word hunt.
They've got problems, just like everyone else.
Gets frustrating sometimes when you can't find it.
John Matsushima would never say he's a big deal.
No, I'm just an ordinary person.
But in all John's years,
104.
there are many moments that prove otherwise. His daughter Nancy is happy to be his hype woman.
High school commencement program, 1939.
I was valedictorian.
Nancy knew her dad, who was born in Denver to Japanese immigrants, didn't have it easy.
When I was 6 years old, my father wrote my name, Kiichiro. And so when I showed that piece of paper to the first grade teacher, she says that I would never know how to pronounce it. So she gave me my name, John or Johnny.
Johnny took what he learned on his family's farm in Platteville, grew into Dr. John, and had a career as a professor and researcher in animal science, about 30 of those years at CSU.
Teaching and research go hand in hand.
He created cattle feeding innovations used worldwide.
It's pretty special.
To Nancy, he wasn't some egg rock star.
You know, he was just dad, you know.
A dad who took his 8-year-old to work.
Do you remember when I used to ride along with you to the feedlot to Rigdon?
Dr. John's accomplishments have given the pair a reason to road trip again.
He's kind of been on tour here lately because he's got the book. He's 104, he's on the move.
At a certain point, an interesting life deserves a book.
And they wanted to know more.
And book tour to places like New Raymer.
There's no pressure telling someone's life story when they're 104 and sitting next to you.
Rachel Gable.
There's no pressure, it's fine.
Took Dr. John's story and turned it into a new children's book, Cattle, Corn, and Courage, the story of Dr. John Matsushima.
Now getting to see him come into the classrooms and just light up and tell these stories to these kids is such a great experience.
Rachel describes how he came up with a better way to feed cattle.
But when he figured out how to make it into essentially cornflakes, they gained more weight.
If I enjoy a warm, hot meal for breakfast, maybe cattle would like to have some warm meal.
The book also gets real about discrimination he faced as a Japanese American during World War II.
During the war, Johnny was a student at Colorado A&M College. When Johnny wasn't allowed in the market, his friends brought paper bags of groceries to him. And Johnny kept his head low and worked hard to study and learn.
Dr. John is still learning.
What's your favorite breed of cattle?
And teaching.
They're all good.
Just like he did for so many years at CSU.
His first student went on to be the U.S. Secretary of Ag. So he's had some pretty impactful students come through his classes.
You had a lot of grad student parties and barbecues.
Yes.
Yeah.
They all had a good time.
Yes, they did.
We were wondering when they would go home.
10,000 college students later.
The honorary den.
And almost as many awards.
1942. That's too long ago.
John might need Nancy's help to place names and honors.
You have a lot of awards on the wall.
Well, I don't know what they are.
Yeah, just like the rest of us. Superstars have problems. It's how Dr. John solved his. That makes him legendary.
Look at him with those kids. What a humble man. Dr. John still lives in Fort Collins and loves the school he taught at for so many years. He attends as many CSU home football games as possible, and he's still traveling around Colorado. His daughter Nancy tells us that just this morning they talked to 3rd and 4th graders at STEM Launch in Thornton.
Wow, what a remarkable man. And you said it best. He's humble, he leads by example, but that's an important history for those kids to learn. So
right,
kudos.
it is an important, all of the lessons, just even his name, the story of his name is important. So what a gift. What a gift he's been to CSU and to all of us in Colorado.